And it wasn't any problem, but it's a small group of people that give me a hard time in this area that just don't want me over here pretty much. You know, I never was used to coming to an area where people didn't want to see somebody come and revitalize, you know, the community.
The original neighborhood was not put there for people to make money. The original neighborhood, just like any neighborhood in the United States, was originally put there for people to live.
The second we started talking, his ears perked up.
It did.
He could not wait to interrupt you.
He couldn't wait, man.
They're just complainers, man. You guys live in historic neighborhoods, can kiss my entire... Hey guys, welcome to the video. This is gonna be a good video. I think there's a great opportunity for Jamil and myself to buy the property sitting behind us. We're in downtown, historic Baton Rouge with a good friend of ours now, Jay. We just met you actually recently. We met you down at Josh Wilson's meetup. This property, what is it and what is the opportunity that a property like this presents in this area? What would an investor hopefully gain by buying a property like this?
So, like I said, it's a great area. Appreciation is crazy. They got a property 3 or 4 downs now listed at right at $1 million. So great area, you know, right here, state capital, you know, viewing distance. Well, my strategy was going to be for the property, which is how I kind of came into some challenges. So I own the other property 2 doors down.
Okay.
I bought both of these like around 2018. So this one is a short-term rental. And once I did that, I was like a pioneer in Baton Rouge, one of the ones for short-term rentals.
Yeah, that's 5 years ago.
I did my research first, make sure there weren't any laws. And it wasn't any problem, but it's a small group of, you know, people that give me a hard time in this area that just don't want me over here pretty much.
Doing short-term rentals? Or?
Yeah,
So
for the most part.
what are they doing to you then?
So they've been trying to fight for the last couple of years, and I think they possibly maybe trying to come up with some laws, but they want to still be able to Airbnb their properties. They just don't want anybody else coming in and whole home Airbnb. So
they want to be able to Airbnb their like an individual room in their house, not but they don't want you to do the whole property.
House. That's right. Yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So this property and the other property down there before that, they had homeless people staying in, and I'll take you and show you the other one. You know, I never was used to coming to an area where people didn't want to see somebody come and revitalize, you know, the community. So this is the first time I had that kind of issue. Normally, they're happy to see that dilapidated properties go back and come.
Oh yeah, they're excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, look at this house over here. That house is looking really good.
Yeah.
That house looks great. Look at the windows on that. Are they original and they're revitalizing those, or are those new windows?
No, they're not original.
Cool.
But it's just like, you know, we're not anti-Airbnb, but no rules, no regulation.
I agree with that.
That's true.
We got the first Airbnb in Baton Rouge from 2016, 2017, so but we're responsible. And we got less neglected homes ever than we've had in.
Yeah, this neighborhood looks great.
Yeah, it sure does.
Yeah.
It's because of the neighborhood and the HPC,
What's the HPC?
Historic Preservation Committee.
Oh, cool. Okay. Are most of the houses now been turned over in this neighborhood?
As far as originals?
Just in terms of now up and going and no broken windows, homeless people gotten kicked out, all that kind of stuff. Has that already been done?
That's been done years ago.
Oh, great. What's most people doing with their properties if they're like an investor? Are they just renting them out to college students, or what are they doing?
No, most of it's homeowners.
Okay.
So, you know.
Which is good.
Look, investors have the opportunity to use 1 investor, 2 investors. There's 1,000 investors across this great United States that can come into Spanish Town right now, writing 1 check for the whole damn city. I mean, there's a lot of money out there. Just because you got money doesn't mean that, you know, you can't use it responsibly. And the thing about it is that Spanish Town, we're a neighborhood. We're not anti-investor, your God-given right to make a buck. But if we're not a neighborhood first, then what are we? We might one day wake up to be like Beauregard Town. No offense to Beauregard Town.
What's that?
It's right, a neighborhood right over.
It's
a couple of blocks up.
You know, came up in 1806, and you go through there now, man, there's what, maybe 30%, 40% families.
Yeah.
It's all investors. It's all offices. And no offense to those people that bought all that to take care of the money and everything else. That's great. That's fantastic. That's the American way. But the original neighborhood was not put there for people to make money. The original neighborhood, just like any neighborhood in the United States, was originally put there for people to live. Now, the people that building the houses, selling the homes, yeah, they're making money. I get all that. But there's this myth, especially in Spanish Town, that we're anti-development and we don't like this. No, we just like responsible development.
What's your guys' we're from Arizona, so we don't know this area very much. We're just
man, I tell you what, you go to Tempe, you go all that stuff. It's Airbnb. You go to Galveston right now.
Oh yeah.
What's Galveston now? 35% Airbnb.
Yeah, it
For
is.
investors.
Really?
Yeah, it's a lot.
1 in
It's a
4
lot.
houses?
There's a lot of them out there now.
Oh yeah, but see, people, you don't hear that side about Airbnb. All the investor money in, hey, let's go buy a neighborhood.
Yeah.
Let's go buy this. And then no one has taken into consideration what on the economy of scales that does to the housing market. Gee, did it maybe explode in the last 3 or 4 years?
Oh yeah.
Nah. Well, yeah. It's no different than the first crash. Yeah, it was bad in 2008. It was bad investment. Everybody wanted, but that's really started when the hurricane started in Florida. Hurricane. Guess what? I need a second home. And people with money started buying, not out of investment. Everything, there is a cause and a reason for everything in economics. But we don't sit back and pay attention and look at those signs. You walk around here, 80% is family or people living here.
For somebody that wants to invest from out of state, come in here and specifically invest in this neighborhood, what is responsible development for them?
See, that's opinion. But number one,
Well, you're the chairman of the historic stuff, so I'm sure you guys have some sway, right?
I'm the chairman of the neighborhood association. All we are is eyes and ears. If you're doing something you're not supposed to do, you're going to hear from us. If you're responsible, we're going to keep an eye on you.
So specifically, that means like an Airbnb being quiet and not having parties, or no Airbnb at all.
3 years ago, the city council created a task. There were 6 people on it. 7 people, 8 people, basically Airbnb, bed and breakfast, developers, homeowners association, everything else. Every spectrum. For 3 years, they looked at everything. What was it, 4 months ago, 3 months ago? They give their recommendation to the city. It goes up to vote, blah, blah, blah. City council, you know how that works? It ain't about morals or scruples or like that. It's about who the They vote totally against a task force that they created without even really paying attention. So what our deal was like, hey, if you're going to have this building, that building, this building here, it's Airbnb, you're going to have to get it registered.
Yeah, of course.
Pay your taxes.
Yeah.
Get everybody up to speed. And then you're going to have to get a permit. And then in some neighborhoods, depending on it, like ours here, we can protect ourselves. We don't want whole house Airbnb. We don't want that house there just to be a whole Airbnb. We want it to be owner-occupied, meaning you've got a duplex.
So boots on the ground, essentially.
Boots on the ground, that's what it is.
You want to be able, if you guys have a issue, you want to be able to call the person and
Or knock on the door. Like if you've got your house here and you've got 6 units, they want you to be living in one of them, 2 of them, and then if you're renting out Airbnb the rest, and something's going on, it's easy for you to just knock on the door and say, hey, keep it down.
So it's not so much about laws, it's more about just being respectful to your neighbors.
Well, see, there was supposed to be ordinance. Ordinance goes to laws and everything else. But, the city council here
voted against it for whatever reason.
Yeah, they watered it.
Right. So there is the only thing here now in terms of ordinance is that you have to be registered and you have to have a permit.
Well, they hadn't put that in effect yet.
Oh, they haven't?
Yeah, but it's like that in New Orleans, and it's no problem.
Well, see, the thing about it is, New Orleans made you had a lot of cities across the country, and a lot of cities right now. The state of Arkansas is about to deal with it. So it's happening. But Baton Rouge at least try to get ahead of it. I got to commend them for even trying to do that. But then when it goes from the citizens to the task force to the recommendation, the city council says nah, and that's yeah. But obviously, look, I got to hand it. Airbnb obviously got some. They got some. They'll grease that wheel, which that's what the lobbyists do and everything else.
Are the local homeowners here trying to invest in the area, or are you seeing more outside money coming in here?
It's a combination of both. The homeowners in here have, over the years, especially in the last 5 years, 10 years, they put a lot of money back into their homes.
Okay, but they're not going to the neighbor's house and saying, oh,
there's probably 5.
And are they using those for like traditional rentals?
Traditional rentals.
Okay, so you guys are okay with traditional rental whole home. You're just not okay with the Airbnb stuff.
No, we're actually fine with the Airbnb.
I mean as a whole home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, the thing about it is, if I was any city USA, I'd be okay with that too. Now you've got Airbnb buying up apartment complexes so people can buy and Airbnb.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we do. I go and buy apartment complexes that are falling apart, and we turn into the whole thing turns into Airbnb.
Well, the thing about it is, and like I said, that is your right and everything else, and
Yeah.
everything. But buying up that apartment complex in the grand scheme of economics 101 was nowhere did we ever think about 80 years ago. Okay, now in 2020, when there's 80 billion billionaires and they have the ability to buy up neighborhoods, what's going to happen? I don't know. That's never going to happen. Over here on the corner of Spanish Town, for the last 2 years, been trying to get a huge apartment development on this sacred piece of land. The association in the neighborhood, we want that developed, but
Not as an apartment building.
no, we're okay with that, depending on, you meet certain guidelines, the historic guidelines and everything else. And what are you going to do about traffic? Well, it's not our deal. Yes, it is our deal. Just because you build it, you got to worry about drainage, traffic, and all this other stuff. That's just being responsible.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate thing, people with money and without money sometimes aren't responsible.
Thanks for the info. Really appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Jay Alexander.
Jay.
Yeah, have we ever met?
I don't think so.
Jeff,
Okay.
I'm Pace. Nice to meet you.
Jamil.
Jamel.
Yeah, good to meet you.
You know what's interesting is in Louisiana, how many of your guys is you guys got a lot of sink stuff, right? Like your soil's very soft, obviously, because it's basically a swamp everywhere.
Yeah. Well, especially in New Orleans, it's not as bad here, except in the older areas.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of it in the newer areas, but older areas like this, you would see that. But
Why don't you take us on a tour through the property?
Gotcha. Let's start at the front.
I'd love to see what the plan would be for this.
Okay.
Has this always been a sixplex?
No, it originally was not a sixplex. Somebody chopped it up.
Got it.
And in order to keep the credits like that, they want to keep it exactly like that. They want you to kind of keep the plan pretty much the same.
Okay, so the city actually wants you to keep this as a sixplex.
Yes. In order to get the credits, which is crazy.
Is this, when you look at this, by the way, I look at this section where you've got concrete sinking in. Is the Historic Preservation Society going to look at these steps and go, we want you keeping this stuff, or is this something you can tear out and re-pour?
They want you to preserve as much as you can. So what'll happen is I've met with them a couple times.
You have to jack it up.
Yeah, or if they'll come out and say, all right, you can go ahead and do something new, but let's make it very close to what the old one
Are you
looked
allowed
like.
to replace all the windows here?
They have to look similar to that. Like you see that other guy, those are new
ones,
windows.
but they look old. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Or you can find a guy to try to repair them the best way you can.
Okay.
So let's go into this one first.
Similar to the way it is in Phoenix, actually. What they
So you've started working on this.
So I've done a lot of rough in. All the plumbing is done in the house. All the electrical upstairs is done. Rough in electrical downstairs.
So you've done demo and basically
electrical, plumbing,
reconfiguration of like the spaces.
Exactly.
So you've already framed in all the areas. The trouble you ran into is pretty obvious.
Yeah, of course.
Like, no offense to that guy. I'll even speak quiet just in case he's still hanging out. But that's a nightmare, right? Like a guy like that is literally he's parked next to your house,
That's
even
right.
though he lives around the corner.
That's right.
And he's coming over here, and I'm like, what is this guy? What's this?
Right.
I thought he was the contractor on
No,
the house.
man.
Because he's got paint on his pants. And I'm sitting here going, man, the second we started talking, his ears perked up.
It did.
He could not wait to interrupt you.
He couldn't wait, man.
Yeah, and he said specifically, I'll make your life a living nightmare.
And he was nice compared to some other stuff I've experienced. It's
he's got a camera in his face.
It's
he doesn't want to
man.
act like a Karen.
It's definitely interesting. But,
I was about to shake his hand and go, hi, nice to meet you, Karen. He was polite, but I could tell that guy has a nasty spirit about it.
He does. I've never met him. I've seen his car before, but I've never met him. But that's why
that's the head henchman.
I must be. No, man, it's another lady.
Bro, he's the chairman.
Well, so it was another lady though. I've never met her. I'm not. I don't know why, but it's another lady. She just moved to Beauregard Place, but the lady that was making my life a living, you know what? She was actually a renter here. I think she was the chairman at the time.
In this property?
No, she was a renter in the
Spanish?
Neighborhood. She wasn't even an owner. And I think
she was a renter?
A renter.
And she felt like she could just come and make your life a living hell.
Yes, it was crazy, man.
I feel like Airbnb gets a really bad rap. And what happens is just the whole name Airbnb has been marketed so much in the country that the people it's not that they hate Airbnb specifically, it's that they hate that things are happening in the neighborhood without them.
Yeah.
And they're jealous that
they don't like that.
That's why I asked the question. I was like, why don't you sons of is buy this house.
Right.
If
Exactly.
you guys are so opinionated,
Right.
why don't you guys get some money together?
Exactly.
Oh, you don't have money.
Right.
Because you ain't done shit with
That's
your
right.
life.
That's right.
What's interesting though is he says, I have an Airbnb out in Arkansas.
Right.
You live there. It's like, no, you don't, because you live around the corner.
Yeah.
So what are you doing there? You're pretending to live there.
He's full of shit.
And
Yeah.
He's obviously, for whatever reason, we live there, and then Airbnb. No, you don't. You're here.
Yeah.
You're here. So he's committing some kind of he's fraudulently got his registration on his Airbnb out there in Arkansas.
That's
and now
right.
He's got on tape.
Right.
By the way.
Right.
So think about this, what he could have done. There's a big lesson here. What he could have done, instead of wasting all this time and energy stirring the pot behind the scenes, he could have come to you and said, hey, Jay, how can I help you get this project done?
Yeah, that's
because
true.
what this house currently is a
true.
magnet for homeless people.
That's right.
It's a magnet for people to break in and live in here, crime,
Yeah.
do drug
Yeah.
deals. We
Yeah.
were just in Slidell.
Yeah.
So we were in Slidell and talking to another investor. We did another walkthrough, and the vacant property they had a house being ran through it.
Really?
Oh, the story is so much worse than I can even tell you. That's what a vacant property brings in.
It does.
And so these guys would rather have that
Yeah.
than somebody trying to actually work on the property
Yes.
and have an axe to grind. And they're just complainers, man. You guys live in historic neighborhoods, can kiss my entire You guys are the absolute freaking worst. I used to love doing historic projects in Phoenix because we can do better jobs than you in the historic world because we actually have money. You broke people that are like, oh, let's just improve the stuff that's already there. It's because you don't have money to do